Hello folks, and welcome to what is probably the real part one of our 1000D build. So we've finally been sent an awful lot of hardware. I mean, so much hardware. We've got 4 NVIDIA 1080 Ti's kindly supplied by them for this build. This is, quite frankly, a stupid amount of RGB. We have 24 LL series 120mm fans from Corsair going into this, along with 4 Commander Pro controllers. Going to be lighting up the whole build, because obviously if you're going to have that much hardware, you're going to need that many radiators, that much cooling. And speaking of cooling, we've got Watercool supplying all of the GPU blocks and the CPU blocks for this build. So absolutely stocked up on nickel, and they are absolutely wonderful. Seriously, take a look at these. Now that we've had a good look at the hardware going into the build, let's take a look at the case and I can show you what we've got planned. So here we have the case in its stock configuration. Now, the biggest change is going to be the internal layout. So this whole area is going to go. I'm going to be remaking new panels for the back and for the base, and also for the interior out of 5mm aluminium. So what are the biggest changes? Well, this whole structure is just, it doesn't really work for the layout that we've got planned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this back panel and then bring the whole motherboard tray forwards a bit. There's a lot of depth here because it's designed for larger water blocks and bigger graphics cards. Ours are Founders Editions, so they're not particularly deep. So we've got extra room to play with here. So I'm going to bring it forwards, and then here, where the ITX board usually goes, I'm going to flip that round, I'm going to put it on the back. So that's going to go facing the back side where there's also a glass panel. At the moment, there's not really anything over there, so it seems a bit pointless having a glass panel if there's nothing to see. So we're going to put the ITX on the back, and it's going to have the graphics card lying flat using a PCIe riser cable. Now, one of the things we're going to keep fairly stock are the main radiator mounts. So these slide out here at the moment. These are going to be replaced with a 4x120 on either side, and it's much like these ones over here. And then they're going to be kept there. And I'm going to put another 480mm radiator lying in the flat here. So it's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 480mm radiators. Of course, all equipped with LL 120mm fans. Now, you may have noticed we've got a lot of these reservoirs. Well, these are going to be worked into a distribution plate. Now, the idea is I want to have them sitting like this in the case itself. We're going to have the radiator, and then they're going to have one here, another one here, and another one here. And these will feed into the water loops. Now, for the actual water loops themselves, we're going to be using a lot of distribution panels. Now, these are CNC machine cut from acrylic. I'm hoping to have one maybe down here, another one coming down the side here, potentially with pumps integrated into it, and then maybe a few more dotted around where it makes sense. Again, I don't want to have just too many for the sake of it. I want them to have an actual purpose. So we're going to be using that for main reservoirs and for the tubing routing so that we don't have like messy tubing all over the place. One of the big changes is going to be the front. So not the easiest thing to move around because it is just so big. But this whole front panel is glass. That's going to go. In fact, the whole I/O is going to go as well. I'm going to replace this with a water block. Inside of that, we'll have between 1 and 3 reservoirs, potentially with either branding or what have you inside those. And the idea is I want to try and bring back some of the curves. The original Project Slate had a curved glass panel. Now that wasn't feasible for design and for manufacture, but if we're making a one-off, we can bring it back. So the plan is to try and get this nice curved shape into the water block itself, but also keeping clearance so that we have good airflow. The cabling is all going to be routed in through the panels on the inside. We're going to have specific sort of cable combs built into the actual structure itself. And I'm hoping that the motherboard tray will sort of float on the back. So all the panels are going to be made out of the same 5mm aluminium, and then that's going to give it an awful lot of strength and a lot of rigidity. So it should be very good for that particular style of mounting. And hopefully, because of the amount of space that we've got to work with, we should be able to get all the cables nice and clean. I'm hoping to have the small power supply, the SFX one, on this side here, laying flat. And then on the back side, we're going to put the AX1600i, because it's so huge, it makes sense to put that underneath the ITX build instead, because it frees up more space in the front. And that's the majority of it. There's obviously going to be some painting work as well that's going to be done, and then other little details that I guess are going to evolve as the build goes. So hopefully that gives you a rough idea of what we're going to be doing. So with a solid plan all in place, the next step is going to be putting this all into CAD so we can have all the water blocks and the relevant panels cut. And then we're also going to be adding some more mods to the actual components themselves so that they fit the theme a little bit better. So stay tuned.